In the last 5 days, the group of owner drivers that I work with, 5 of them have parked up. They own their stuff. They don't have any massive overheads like some of us. Well, not massive, but they're still big. So they don't have to operate, and that's fair enough too. They want to spend time with their kids. They don't want to be working for $1,500 a week, working 17 hours a day, being away from home every day. I had to make the decision the last 2 nights, not to make a 100k detour home to spend time with my family, when I could have been there at 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and decided, it's just not worth it. Unfortunately, it's always worth it, but trying to save your dollars where you can. Now, if the government is a business, which it realistically it is, we've contracted the business as the Australian people to run the country, to manage our finances, to do everything like that. If you're in a business and you've got people in positions that aren't doing well and they're not achieving their goals and all that, they're not hitting their targets, you'd be bringing them in and saying what the hell's going on. Not supporting them, not backing them, you'd be giving them a grilling. So why isn't our finance minister, our energy minister, our transport minister all being held accountable for what's going on at the moment? Regardless, even obviously, the leader of the party needs to be held accountable. Like I said in the last one, I don't care what political party it is. Everybody should be held accountable. If you're in government, you represent the people. You're there to protect the people and the nation's interest, not other countries. So why isn't Chris Bowen, facing the chopping block within his own party? His own party should be holding him accountable for the lack of resources that we've got in this country at the moment. A week ago, it was everything's all sweet, everything's all good. Now, they're shitting themselves. Now they're looking at a playbook about $40 at the pump. Now I'm spending an extra $1,600 to $1,700 every time I fill up at the moment. That's double the cost. Fuel's gone up double around here, 100%. So why are they not being held accountable? The finance minister, the mismanagement of our funds. This hasn't just been the last 3 weeks since the war started. The interest rates that went down last year, that wasn't because of the government tightening its spending. That was because the Australian people couldn't afford to buy shit they wanted to buy anymore. And it's about to get a lot bloody worse. The flow-on effect of fuel prices at the moment, you guys haven't felt yet. The general public hasn't felt yet. Everybody in the transport industry says the same thing. But this message needs to get out to everybody in Australia. We need to start holding the government accountable for everything. Everything that they do, everything that they say, all the lies that they say. It's mind-boggling that these people think that everything's going to be okay. It's not. But no idea. We've got a transport minister in Catherine King that's got no idea about transport, but in their own government, in the Labor Party, they've got a truck driver sitting over in WA that drives trucks on a regular basis, that gets all of these organisations together to help create legislation and changes, but he isn't the transport minister. Why? I don't understand why the Labor government hasn't appointed Glenn Sterle. Love him or hate him, right? But he's a transport guy. He understands transport. We need to have people in positions, in power, that understand the economics of their role, or the fundamentals, whatever it may be. You'd have a Mark Bouris as the finance minister. He understands business. He understands the global implications of everything that goes on. So why don't we have people like that? Not just politicians, career politicians. We need people that understand these things in power. You'd think that our government, our Prime Minister, being the Transport Minister, when Rudd was in government, would understand how much this is going to absolutely destroy the country with the fuel prices for freight companies. regardless of whether or not you're getting a discount or, whatever it may be, everybody's still going up almost 100% on their fuel on the daily basis. Regardless of whether or not you get whatever it is. So, our Prime Minister, you're the Transport Minister. You used to be the Transport Minister. How can you not understand this unless you just don't care? Or you just don't give a shit? Businesses are folding, right? People that are parking up at the moment, right? Good on yous. And, more power to yous. I got in it a little bit too late, but you guys, if yous are going to park up for a purpose. Park up for a reason. Utilise that truck for a reason. Send a message to this government if you can. Send a message to the government saying, no, you're crushing you're crippling the transport industry. Yes, they passed a bill yesterday, about the fuel levies. And that's great. But that's a Band-Aid replacement. That's a Band-Aid replacement at the moment. But as soon as fuel prices come down, the industry's still in trouble. And the fuel prices aren't going to come down for a long time. So, at the end of the day, people need to understand that this government is a business. And they work for us. We don't work for them. They manage all the money that we pay in tax, all the fines and everything that we get done, right? They work for us. That's how they use that money for our country, right? Use it for the right reasons. All the people that are talking about green energy and renewables, you just need to wake up, right? Australia is not going to be self-sufficient or reliant on battery or electric cars and trucks. This country is way too vast for something. A hybrid model might work, where some parts are electric, everything needs, some parts are diesel, but for transport, it'll never work. Not in my lifetime anyway. The country is way too vast for where everything goes to the shelves. Like, it's not just about the farmers not being able to plant their crops. You guys got to understand that everything that you touch runs through the back of the truck. The good old saying, and it's true, without trucks, Australia stops. All right? It goes from your furniture, from your clothes, your water bottles you drink, your lattes, whatever it may be, your coffee. Everything gets transported on a truck to get to the shore. Believe it or not, it doesn't just magically appear at the shops. It gets there. One way or another, there's probably 3 or 4 times that product gets put on 3 or 4 different trucks to get to you. From its start of its life to the end of its life in this country, before it gets to you. It has 4 movements or 5 movements, maybe more, before it gets to you. So the fuel price is going up. The amount that everything's going to cost, I don't think the nation's ready for it. There hasn't been a flow-on effect yet. But once it gets there, you'll feel the pinch. Everybody needs to wake up. The transport industry needs to come together. These big associations, the ATA, NatRoad, the South Australian Transport Association, New South Wales, QTA. You've all got great ideas about how to solve the problem, but if you've all got different ideas, right, nothing's going to get done. You all need to come together at the moment. The LBCRA, everybody needs to come together at the moment, all these associations, right, and have one common thing at a time. Decide what you're all going to bang the drum on at the government about, right? It's not about who's right or whose idea it was. You need to fight for the transport industry. Otherwise, we're going to go backwards. Combinations are getting bigger and bigger because we can't find drivers in this country and we're importing them and people are dying on our roads. This is how dire the transport, and everybody knows it in this industry. But nothing's getting done about it. Nothing's getting done unless there's a crisis or an emergency. You big industry peak bodies need to come together and have one common goal at a time and bang that drum. Stop fighting against each other, right? You represent your people and your members, right? Fight for them and all work together on one common goal at a time. Fix this industry and help this industry get back on track and hit the government hard. But to the Australian people, you guys have got to understand that everything that you get and everything that you do in life comes on a truck. Apart from you walking outside. But at the end of the day, you're wearing clothes. So that all came on the back of a truck. So start appreciating the transport industry more and understanding that everything is going to go up. I really, really, really do hope that this message gets out there to the general public to start banging the drum towards the government. Because if we don't and the transport industry starts parking up properly, then this country will shut down. Plain and simple.